So I'm talking to John Clute. Now, you're someone who's talked about how science fiction addresses certain aspects of contemporary life in a way other kinds of fiction don't. Can you talk about how that is or why that is?
That's a really complicated question, to be honest, because science fiction is in the throes of changing its modes of address, just as the world is in the throes of becoming a world that's constantly in the throes of being a world. So the old science fiction didn't do a very good job of 1999, and the new science fiction, which is basically, I would say, the distinction between the old science fiction and the new science fiction is probably the old science fiction was a science fiction of advocacy, usually in engineering terms. It's a deep simplistic. But the new science fiction, when it works, say China Miéville, City in the City, is the science fiction of recognition. That when you read The City in the City, you read a scientific premise about how cities can be organized and how perception can be organized, but at the same time that premise folds back into a recognition, yeah, that's how we live now in the world cities that are so complexly and centrally a part of our lives now to come. So a science fiction story now that the great narrative of American science fiction was, as it were, deep sixed by Sputnik, and it took the 5-figure exploding palm method, 5 giant steps for science fiction in America to realize that the fatal blow had been struck in 1957 to that particular dream of space and avarice and imperium. Since that point, science fiction itself has become a genre in trouble insofar as addressing the world has been concerned. But I think things are looking better now. I think some writers are settling into the task, even the joyous task of getting it where we are now and how we relate to this world, which is a terribly, terribly difficult thing to do, to actually understand the present day. That's the great science fiction task is to get a hold of the present day before we are ripped so far from it that we don't even know where we were.
So is science fiction not about technological change and scientific change anymore, per se?
Well, I think those who emphasize that in their writing, the cruelest thing one could say is that they're climate change deniers. That's also maybe the kindest thing one could say. I'm not much into it, obviously. I'm much more into the science fiction that does not think, that does realize that the engineering dream, the dream of creating utopias, the dream of creating interstate systems without consequences, was actually a dangerous Faustian dream that made it look to us now as though science fiction had sold its tiny little soul to the devil and didn't even know it had done it.